Hey, okay, so the quality on this is terrible because I'm just recording on my webcam, but it's already January 4th and I want to say these things before they become just totally irrelevant. Let me just say, I really grew as a person in 2020, but I really think I grew as a gamer. And I don't know what's more important, probably the gaming. So I would say that I'm now kind of between a casual gamer and a more hardcore gamer. So while I think there's a lot of content out there about like the best, larger blockbuster games, I would just really think that more things deserve more attention. We're gonna go in a top 10 format, so I'm gonna go from 10 and then count back down from 0. Number 10 was a game called Empire of Sin. So this was a game that I reviewed for my job. Yes, I write video game reviews. And you're gonna play as one of 13 diverse mob bosses. Yes, that's right, 13 possible characters. Do I think that video games need more diversity, equity, inclusion? Yes. Did I really think that it was video game mob bosses that was a category that would be fulfilled by more diverse characters? No, but it's really satisfying. I cannot lie. I think a big strength of this game too, as far as the characters, is that a lot of the female characters don't fall into specific tropes. While I don't want to give away the story for many of these characters, I was really surprised by the fact that the narratives didn't feel empty, right? They weren't just background in order to move the combat and the management forward. I really felt like I was experiencing each boss's story, and that is honestly not something that I expected from a strategy game. Let me just say that when I played it, it was before it was even released, so there were a lot of bugs and glitches, but I still really think that it's worth a try. If you think that you're interested in any kind of strategy game, resource management, relationship management, or if you just really enjoy a good story, if you like turn-by-turn combat, there's gonna be something in this game for you. Number 9, not necessarily an indie game because it's from Nintendo, but Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I had never heard of these guys before, so I'm so much better now for knowing them. If you haven't heard of Pikmin are these like cute little space creatures, and they live on this strange planet that kind of resembles Earth, but we don't know if it's supposed to be Earth. The story is that you're playing as Alf, Brittany, and Charlie, who are 3 aliens, I guess, trying to save their home planet. They crash land on this strange planet, and they're looking for resources for their planet. So in this case, that means fruit. Pikmin are these little space creatures, and they have different colors, which means they have different abilities, and they're just cute. I mean, look at them. I kind of think they speak for themselves. Like, don't you want to hang out with these guys? I would love to hang out with them. So that was the game. You know, you fight enemies, you solve puzzles. It's just wacky and silly and fun, and the co-op mode is really awesome too. Something I love about the world is that even though it's just so quirky and silly, there's not a lot of in-depth narrative world building. We don't really know that much about Pikmin, what they are, where they came from, anything like that, and I love that. Pikmin almost feel like an adorable yet incredibly powerful mystery, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. It's a great game to play with a family member or a friend, but single player is also just as fun. Number 8 is Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. I feel like this should have been a bigger release. So in this game, you will play as Sakuna, a goddess who's been ousted from heaven. She's being punished for her careless ways, and she's told not to return until she's able to solve the mystery of this place called the Isle of Demons, where she's banished to. The combat is fun, but it's not too challenging if you're really new to games or just not very good at them like I am. What makes this game such a standout is 2 things. First is going to be the mashup between hack and slash combat and a farming sim. I think a lot of the time, if there's going to be a game that's both, it's mostly a farming sim with a little bit of combat. Here, both of these mechanics are absolutely essential to the other one working and you progressing throughout the game. As a result, you don't really feel like you're doing chores, which I think can happen in a game like this sometimes. The other thing that really makes this game stand out is the writing. Sakuna's change over time doesn't really feel rushed at all, and every moment that she shows any improvements in being less self-centered are just incredibly satisfying. The developers clearly put a lot of time and research into crafting this story, and the rice farming aspect is allegedly very true to life as well. I'm not a rice farmer, so I don't know. Putting that much effort into a game where the audience might not care so much about historical accuracy is something I really admire. Number 7 is Afterparty. So Afterparty was made by Night School Studio. It's the same studio that develops the game Oxenfree, which I believe came out in 2017. So that's what made me play Afterparty. In Afterparty, you play as Milo and Lola. They are 2 adolescents who have just finished college. As they're kind of leaving their graduation night party, they die. That's not a spoiler because the entire game happens in hell. Yeah. In this version of hell, if you beat Satan in a drinking contest, you might be able to just come back to life. Another thing about this game is it's so beautiful. The art style is really amazing. It's kind of the same thing with Oxenfree, where you just feel like you're experiencing a place that you obviously have never been to, but I couldn't even conceptualize that. The story simultaneously feels like a comedy and a tragedy. I just loved that at every different plot point, I really didn't know what was gonna happen next.
If you're also someone who appreciates very smart writing and likes to explore complex moral questions through games, this is definitely one for you.
Number 6 is the game Hades. This is kind of a bigger one, so I'm not going to spend too much time on plot here. I'm just going to explain why I think it's just a game that is going to be fun for everyone. Typically, something that's so heavily based on action and combat is not something that I'm going to be really interested in, but this is why this game is so impressive. Even if you're losing, like really just doing awful, it's still an absolute blast. I really like something like that. It's really different from a game, an RPG such as, I'll just use Darkest Dungeon as an example, where even if you are like really doing amazing, chances are you're still very stressed out and upset. So this is the complete opposite of that. It's just fun.
Another thing to note is that because this game is still gathering traction, we're going to see a lot more of it in 2021. Some people are just finding out about it now, so I think more people will be playing it on stream and releasing YouTube content about it. I haven't beaten it yet, and I'm committed to coming back until I do. And I definitely think a lot of people who have given this game a try feel the same way.
It's kind of similar to Afterparty in the sense that at the same time it feels like a never-ending nightmare. It's also like the best party you've ever been to. So number 5 is Animal Crossing. Again, I don't need to tell you how Animal Crossing works. You can watch any other person on the internet right now talking about it. But the fact that it's become such a mainstream hit really just fills my heart with a lot of joy.
As someone with memories of playing Animal Crossing Wild World on my DS when I was, I think, 8 or 9, I didn't grasp at that point how loved this game was already because there wasn't really an internet community to talk to about it. So having this game's reach feel exponentially larger now kind of makes those childhood memories feel even warmer and more comforting. I'm also really blown away in the best way possible about the sense of community this game has brought for a lot of people right now. There were multiple weeks where I felt like the only thing anything was watching on Twitch was people playing Animal Crossing, and I really like the simplicity of it being a game where people can kind of just jump in and out. Each town's story is unique, but because it's so made up of what people are making of it, it's really easy to follow. And my favorite example currently is all of the people on Twitch doing Animal Crossing villager hunts or villager bingo. So how that works is you're gonna go to an island, you have a bingo sheet, and you just kind of go to island after island after island until you get a specific villager that you want to see.
So it can take hours and hours and hours, but it's really, really fun to have on Twitch. So I watched one of these villager bingo sessions on New Year's Eve. It was Lil Simsy's channel, but she was just having this like really fun high energy stream trying to get bingo. There's just something about, in the times that we're living in, still feeling like on New Year's Eve, right? I was still kind of hanging out with people and doing something that was fun, even though I wasn't actually physically doing that. Just made me feel a sense of normalcy in a way. So I think that's just invaluable right now. I had made the joke in early April that Nintendo actually created the pandemic to sell more Animal Crossing copies, but that got old quite quickly because it's not funny and not true. Okay, up to number 4. Number 4 is a game called Project Winter. This game did not come out in 2020. It came out in 2019, but I have an argument here, I promise. This year, the game that took everybody by storm was Among Us. And Project Winter is a game that's very similar to Among Us, but in my opinion, it's much better. It's a bit more involved, and your games are gonna take a little bit longer, but I think that's a really good thing. Pretty much in Project Winter, you are in a group of people, you are in a cabin, and it's your job to escape this like frozen tundra that you're in. There's gonna be roles that each character has. Someone's a medic, someone's a soldier, and there are 1 or 2 traitors instead of imposters. We have traitors in this game. It's the people with the positive or innocent roles who have to go through and complete tasks in order to escape. The traitor's job to try to sabotage those, and of course to kill innocents. Okay, the game is gonna end if all of the people escape, right? Or if all of the traitors are able to kill the innocents. So it's really similar to Among Us. I think this deserves at least a lot more attention, because I really think that it's a lot more challenging, right? Because the games are longer, you have to have a more developed strategy on how you're gonna talk to other people, how people are going to complete tasks, and because the map is so big, there's just a lot of added challenges with trying to stay warm, stay full, and not be killed by bears and wolves and all these other things on the map. So if you like Among Us at all, I would so recommend that game. Number 3, I guess I don't know if it counts, but it's my video, so I'm gonna say it does count, is an early access release. It's Baldur's Gate 3. The combat system is so awesome. It's turn-by-turn RPG, and I just think it's one of the best turn-by-turn systems to come out in a game in the last few years.
Something that's making this game stand out already is how responsive the developers have been to player input. They are really explaining every step of the process and offering a lot of updates. So I just really like to see that. Also, while it does feel weird to give a game that's maybe a third of the way finished a spot in my top 3 of the year, I'm putting it here simply based on how positively I feel about what the rest of the game is gonna look like. I think we all could use a bit of positivity and optimism coming into this year, especially in the gaming world. So I'm just choosing to express some of that for Baldur's Gate 3.
I think in most games, if you kind of have your strategy set in a turn-by-turn based combat, it's really hard to, or it's really easy to just kind of fly through. And Baldur's Gate was not letting you get away with that. There's gonna be some sort of a twist that makes it a little bit harder. The character customization options are also really extensive in a very good way. It's the Dungeons and Dragons version of Create a Sim, and I didn't know I needed that, but now that I have it, I'm very satisfied. As someone who really loves turn-by-turn RPGs and someone who just really, really loves stories where your choices matter, this is a game where just going through into 2021 and beyond, I'm really excited to see where they go with it. Yeah, because it's already so much fun. Number 2 is gonna be a cute, small little puzzle game called I Am Dead. You are playing as Morris, who's a character who has recently passed away. I don't want to give away too much of the story, but it's going to be you as Morris, and your dog Sparky, who is also dead. And the two of you are going to explore your former home, and you're gonna be solving this huge problem that the island has by talking to the other ghosts that live there. So you really get to care about each and every character because of how detailed the narratives of all these characters are. So
again, I don't want to give too much away, but my favorite part of this experience was what I Am Dead has to say about death and how objects can play a role in remembering those who have passed on. This is a game I feel like I'm going to remember because I feel like it makes me see the entire world differently. The gameplay is also very easy, so it feels like a casual, laid-back experience where I was really able to just enjoy the story. This is one where nothing I say is really going to do it justice just because of how unique it is, so just play it. That's gonna be the best thing here.
And my favorite game release of 2020 was Tell Me Why. This is gonna be from, I think it's Don't Nod Entertainment.
This game is from the same people who made Life is Strange. In Tell Me Why, you will be playing as Tyler and Alyssa, estranged twins visiting their childhood home for the first time in 10 years, as it's finally time for them to move on with their lives after a tragic event that occurred at the house when they were kids. Now, when I played Life is Strange, which I think is my favorite game of all time, I had never experienced anything like it. So playing Tell Me Why felt like a good experiment for me to test if these games were really that good or if I just played Life is Strange at the right time in my life to be so affected by it. But I think after Tell Me Why, I can say I think these games are really just that good.
The environments in this game feel so real. It takes place in Alaska, and let me tell you, ever since I played this game, I am now obsessed with eventually going to Alaska. There's something about the way that this game romanticizes places, which, like, I feel like I've been there even though I haven't.
I also want to applaud the LGBTQ plus representation in Tell Me Why. We do have a protagonist that's trans, and what I like about his story is that though we get the chance to explore a bit about coming out and his struggles with not being accepted, his story is a lot larger than that. Tyler's not defined by his gender, and I think that's really refreshing to see. I feel like I learned a little more about what the trans community goes through, but I primarily got to know Tyler for the character that he is, and his relationship with Alyssa really stayed front and center through each chapter.
I think that something that this game does really well is kind of explains that sometimes the way that we interpret events based on who we are as people can cause a lot of problems. It only makes it that much more heartbreaking and that much more engaging to know that your experience with not only with an event in the game, but with the game itself is going to be so different than somebody else's. So there you have it. There are my top 10 games of 2020 for indie/casual picks with that one early access game brought in too. So thank you so much for watching, and
if you think we might be into the same types of games, or if you connected with anything I said in this video, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe here or follow me on Twitch. The link to Twitch will be below. I stream Sundays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern. I am just starting these accounts, so every view and every follow is very much appreciated, so thanks again for being here.